Hey guys, it's Linda Winter with another Winter Designs project. Actually, two projects in one, kind of. All right, so sleep masks. Sleep mask versus eye mask we'll talk about at the very end, but this is a sleep mask. This template right here, that's the regular size or small. This is the large. That's kind of a standard sleep mask, and that makes a mask like this or like this. And that mask, that's the one that I originally first started making when I made sleep masks. And then Beth and Shirley, y'all know Beth and Shirley. Beth and Shirley were like, well, you know, there's a different style of mask that actually helps your eyes kind of block out a little bit more. So this was the mask that they originally made and suggested I make for the template. So that now comes in a small, a child, an adult small, an adult large, and an extra large. And these guys here, surprisingly, this one here makes this one here. It's not that big. I'm going to put on the adult extra large so you can see. There's the adult extra large. It's basically here and how broad this is, but I can't see anything with this on. So it really does do the trick. I want to go to this child, and this is the child. I'm going to put this on if I can stretch this. And you can see it's a little tight for me, but it still covers my eyes. So the cool thing about any of these masks is you get to pick and choose what size you think you're going to make more often. If you're not sure, and if you know you want to play with minky and some of those fun fabrics, then go larger than you think. If you like the idea of the traditional sleep mask, this guy versus that's this versus this with that higher nose, then go with the traditional full. I'm calling it a full mask. If you like the idea of blocking out some of the light, then this is the half. Of course, the half is a little bit cheaper because it's half the template, but also it's going to be able to go a little higher on your nose. That's what makes the difference. These templates all have the no slip material, that no slipping, no kidding material that I have on all of the templates that I offer. And you notice I've got templates in white now. We did some specialty templates Christmas time at white when I brought out some of these new things. This is a new size. This is a new size. So we have some new templates coming out in white. You'll notice this is the way the template comes. It's hard to read. This is the adult large. I've gone in and I've colored in with a Sharpie. And you can see here my LG, it's smaller, so I used a metallic Sharpie right here, or a metallic marker, I should say, rather than the Sharpie. So we go from here, where it's hard to see, to here. So that metallic marker just lets you see what it is you are working with a little bit better on. So I want to show you how to make these, and we'll talk about headbands a little bit later, because look at this headband on the backing. Look at this right here. It's kind of a bra strap. Can you see how that's adjustable? So there's a lot of options that I want to go over, but what I want to do is show you how easy it is to make these and how quick it is to make these. So I'm going to show you the fabric. We're going to cut with this guy here first. This is the full, and then we're going to cut the half. And then I'm going to make the half because it's a little bit smaller, and most people will think, oh, I'm not sure how to do it. So we're going to take our two fabrics, and I've just cut myself a piece that is larger than this. Scraps are terrific for this project. If you've got any of the fat quarter bundles or anything like that, you can see how easy it is to be able to use up. This is the largest size here in the full size, so you can see how easy it is for me to do that. Now, I could put this layer underneath here, the batting, and again, I'll talk about batting options for you, but I'm going to show you a cheater method rather than cutting out. The rotary cutter, the no slip material, it'll cut all three of those layers, but we're going to avoid the cutting. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, just cut off, and you can see if you're new to the no slip material, this stuff grabs my fabric. So no more tracing, no more paper templates for you to kind of get. I'm going to go right inside of here. Now you notice I didn't get inside of there. I'll show you some secrets on how to do that. Those of you that are new, you might not know about the Martelli rotary cutter. This is the cutter I like, but you can use whatever cutter it is you want. This is a 45 millimeter. You can use a 28 millimeter right inside of here. This little guy here will get right inside of there. Or you can take any kind of a marker. You can take chalk. You can take a pen. I'm on the wrong side, and you can go in and mark right inside of there. And then use your scissors that are really nice and sharp to get right inside and trim that out. If you don't have this little 28 millimeter like I have here, do you see how with this I can get right inside of there? If you don't have one and you don't want to buy one of these, then again, use a marker. use a pen, use whatever it is to go in and color that in. Anytime you have a template that has a sharp area like that that's going inward, it's going to be hard for your rotary cutter to get inside of there. So 45, 28 millimeter. All right, so I said I want to show you my little cheater method. I've got my lining, I've got my front, and I've got my inside. So those guys right there are ready to go. If I was going to be sewing this, I want to show you, we're going to cut that half, because there's a nice, or kind of an easy way to do both of these. I want to show you with the half. I folded my fabric in half, and you notice I've got a big piece of fabric here because I love this fabric. I don't want to waste any of this fabric that I have. I have a smaller piece right here. I'm going to fold it. We want to line up these edges. And you notice how I've stacked them on top. I haven't put one inside of the other. When you put one inside of the other, you may not get that fold exactly the same. I'm going to take the large, adult large. And again, if you're not sure which one to get, the adult extra large probably is going to be the one that I recommend. Why? You can work with minky and polar fleece and flannel and a high loft batting and all of those kinds of things to make it really plush. All right, so what I want to do is keep all of this fabric intact here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a piece and cut off a piece here. That allows me to take this here. I'm going to start right inside, and remember this area right here is going to be harder to cut. So if you're not comfortable with the rotary cutter, can you see how there's a little bit of fabric? I'm going to try to get inside of there. You can see that fabric there. You can again use a pen. Use the pen beforehand. If you're not comfortable with the rotary cutter, use that pen beforehand to draw around that first. And that way when you go to cut and you finish, you'll be able to see what it is that you have left over that you need to trim. So when I go to cut this area right inside of here, I'm going to switch over to my 28 millimeter and get right inside. But you guys, again, can use your precision scissors. I've done 2 layers here. And again, my batting, I'm going to take these guys here, take a batting. I'm going to put this down here. Whoops, up, right side's up. And instead of stacking this, let's talk elastics for just a minute. I'm going to grab this piece of elastic, and you can see it's a headband. So I'm going to cut this piece off, and I'm going to cut this piece off. How do we decide what kind of elastic? Later on, I'm going to look at a bunch of elastics and show you options, but a headband is a nice option too. This is stretchier than some elastics. We're going to come to my head, and if we look at this guy here, we're basically on my head going from temple to temple. Right about there is my seam allowance. So I'm going to grab temple to temple. And do you see how I don't have a whole lot more, but about that much elastic left over? That guy right there is going to be built into my seam allowance. So I'm going to leave that there. When I have my piece of fabric and my batting, I want to take this and I'm going to stitch that on. Now, if we look at the template, there are 2 marks right here. You can go mark them with the Sharpie. That's going to be basically telling you where to put the elastic. And you can see right here, if I place that over here, my elastic needs to go right about there. Honestly, your elastic is going to be based on your head. Everybody's heads are a little bit different. And where your eyes are, you may want it higher or you may want to make it lower. But use the template the first time around and just kind of play with that. Once you decide where you like it, if you're going to be making these for other people, then use the template markings. But if you're making this for you or somebody else that you have around, then you can adjust. Now, notice what I'm doing. Since I said that's my seam allowance, I'm going to make it a little bit further out just because it was a little bit big. Now, I want to make sure this is straight. We're going to deal with this elastic because I'm going to be sewing 3 layers down. I don't want to get that elastic sewn in there. So I'm going to fold and I'm going to fold. And what I want to be able to do is just pin that down. I don't want this so tight, the elastic so tight that when I put my next layer on top, that it's going to bunch things up. Now, if you put a pin in here, we have to remember when we go to turn this that we have a pin in here. If you use 2 pins, then you want to remember that you have 2 pins in there. Do you see how I'm a little bit close there? So I'm going to scoot that up a little bit higher. And we're going to have the opening right here to here, so I could actually even stick it out if I want to. Wherever it is that you need that elastic to be to keep out of your way as we're sewing around our sides. We're going to leave about a 2-inch opening. We don't need a whole lot when we go to turn, so about a 2-inch opening is good. There's no right side or wrong side on this fabric, so when I place this on top, notice that bunching that I have there. I'm going to ignore the bunching for now. I'm going to go in and pin about where I'm going to start to sew. And notice my back fabric, my batting. I haven't cut that down, and I'm not going to cut that down. Why? That's extra work. I don't need to do that. Oh, I forgot. I want to show you one other thing that you can do. You can do what I just did there, but let's go ahead and stitch this down. So at the sewing machine, I'm going to go ahead and just stitch. I'm going to move that pin. And we're going to stitch this down a couple times. Backwards, forwards, right along in that seam. I'm going to cut that thread and we'll go over to the other side. And we are going to do one part of trimming with the batting. And I'll show you that in just a second. We just want to secure this elastic down because it's a little bit heavier than your regular elastics. If you're going to use elastic that you buy by the yard or in the packages, then 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch is good. I'm going to show you a mask that has 2 pieces of elastic on there. That's the kind that my mom liked. And if y'all have followed me, I talk about my mom really being the start of why I did this sleep mask. When my mom was in her last days, she lived with a sleep mask on 24/7. She did not take it off for anything. The light really bothered her, so she wanted to have a sleep mask that really stayed on, and this was the one that she wore, and there's an elastic and an elastic there. Those 2 elastics, I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit, but that elastic is 1/4 inch. You could even do 1/8 inch if you wanted to. All right, so we've stitched that fabric down, and you might not have noticed, but I cut off the batting right along the edge there, because when I go to stitch here, I want to make sure that this fabric that's here gets caught. If there's any place that's going to be weak on your mask, it's going to be right here. So I've trimmed along there so I can make sure that I'm going to be right along and not have anything that doesn't get caught. Because it's kind of hard to see that under layer of the fabric. My lining fabric, this hot pink, is a little bit thin, so I can kind of see, but not all of your fabrics are going to be thin like this. So trimming those edges does make it a little bit easier. Now you notice I haven't pinned a whole lot elsewhere because that elastic is bunching. So all I'm doing is just kind of holding this in place, and I may be readjusting as I go. You don't have to pin if you're not a pinner. This is the kind of project that's really pretty easy to not pin. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm using about 1/4 inch, maybe even a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I like for the face masks, the sleep masks, to be a little bit less than your normal seam allowance, just because I want to be able to have as much of the fabric here as possible for the mask itself. Now when I get here, I'm going to go ahead and back stitch. I've got a thin piece of elastic here, so it's not a big deal. And notice I'm going off. I don't really care because that lets me go back in my direction. It's kind of hard, at least for me, to sew backwards with a curve. So I was able to sew right over that again. When we get to the nose piece, because this nose is higher, I'm going to go in, and when I get right in the center, about in the center, I'm going to put that needle down and I'll pivot, and I can take a stitch or 2 and then pivot again. We're going to be trimming that, and my seam allowance is a little bit narrower here. That's okay. And I'm coming around to the other side. I've not had to worry about any of that elastic being in the way, because I pinned it out of the way. Here is my elastic here. I'm going to go ahead and back stitch there. And again, as long as I'm over on that elastic, I'm going to be trimming with pinking shears in a few minutes. All right, so when we get to here, notice what I've done. I've got this elastic here. I'm going to unpin that because I can see that pin. I'm going to pull that elastic. I can feel it right here, so I'm not in any worry at all about stitching over. Remember, we're going to keep this opening pretty narrow. Why? Because I've got elastic that's also going to help me pull this out. All right, so we're going to cut our threads. I'm going to grab my pinking shears. And normally I have my trash can right underneath me, but I don't. So we're just going to put it on the table. I'll grab my trash can. If y'all haven't made one of those little catch-alls for your threads, the storage pod that I have, it's a small and extra small. Either of those work out really well for you to be able to use to put your scraps in. And I have one normally at my sewing table. This is kind of a configuration for when I'm filming, a little bit different than what I normally do. So what am I doing here? I'm trimming pretty closely all along, but when I get to the opening, I'm not going to trim any of this. I'm just going to go up because we want to tuck in that batting that's right there. So I'm just going to kind of trim down and trim over. Now I do want to take my precision scissors and go right into the center there. The pinking shears did a pretty good job of going in the center, so I don't have to do a whole lot. But if your pinking shears didn't get right into that center, then you can go ahead and trim that up. All right, so I mentioned that this elastic is going to help me out, so I'm going to pull. And when I pull, that helps me turn all of this. And again, we'll talk elastics. I love using headbands. You know, they've got colors and styles that you don't find in elastics. I'm going to push inside of here, but when I get to my iron in just a minute, then I'm going to use another tool inside of there as well. So we're using the elastic to help. And again, we've secured that elastic pretty well. So I can pull on it, but I don't want to take advantage too much of it because right now we're still in that turning process. Okay, so look at that mess. All right, let's get some of this stuff out of the way. And I've got a stiletto that I had. Well, I've got a wooden stiletto that Philip made, and it's supposed to be here. And it's amazing. I only have probably 5 in my studio, at my sewing table, my cutting table, my ironing station, all of that area. And I guess I took one over to my big ironing board. But the wooden stiletto has a nice flat edge, and I would be pushing it in and rubbing along inside of there. I'm going to do a video on the stiletto, so you'll get to see that in action. Right now, though, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of finagling that fabric with my fingers. But the stiletto's flat edge, there's a wedged edge that has a flat, wide edge. That works really well inside of there. All right, so I'm just kind of wiggling that around and getting all of this out. Now, we're going to close this out, and you've got several different ways that you can close out. Notice that, again, I'm just kind of finger pressing all of that. So we can close that out a couple different ways. I love this stuff. This peel-off tape, Dritz, this stuff really works well. This is a peel-off, double-sided, and it goes right inside of there. You can use it and then top stitch right over it. Notice I've been using white thread. I wanted to use white thread because I wanted you all to be able to see. Here's my stiletto that I was talking about. See this flat edge right here, that wedge that's there? That, when I have this inside, I can go in, and I'm going to turn it upside down, but I'm going to go in. I've already done a lot of the pushing, but do you see what I'm doing? I'm able to take this inside of there, and it really opens up those seams. And it really, really helps. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got it right here. As I go, it's opening those seams up, pushing that fabric out. This was a stiletto that Philip made me a while ago. He made me lots of them for me to sell on the website. We sold out, and then he said done because it was too much work and he didn't want to do it. I talked him into this Christmas giving it to me as one of my Christmas presents. When he says he'll do something for me for Christmas, he usually does. So I got him to make me a bunch of these, and they're wonderful. So this flat edge here. You can also use this edge to poke out. It doesn't work as well in here because I don't have an end or anything, but right inside of there it does a really good job. Let's go to the iron, and we're going to press this a little bit. I'm going to leave that opening alone for now because all I'm doing is just pressing what I pushed out a minute ago. And then we'll deal with that opening. And I said we have a couple different ways that we can deal with the opening. All right, so we can use the peel-off tape here. This is our Dritz tape, and you can find it on my website. You can find it at Joann's. You can find it wherever. So I'm tucking in. Remember, we left all that excess batting because it's a whole lot easier to tuck that big piece in, and it will go where you want it to go. If you trimmed it off, it would be sticking out and we'd have all kinds of problems with it. Okay, so if I move that batting inside, a lot of times you can kind of pull and it closes, and you can see that pink isn't closing quite so well. So I'm going to turn it towards me, and I'm going to get it to where I think it's pretty good, and we'll take that stiletto, and I'm just going to give a good press right here. And again, that wedged part of it is going to do a really good job of just pressing down, pressing down, pressing down. And I'm going to go back and forth from the front to the back, and we're just going to give a good press. If I like what I have, and I don't want to do any top stitching, remember I have white thread in here, so I don't want to do top stitching with the right thread. I would put a piece of that inside of there. I'm going to do that because I'll come back later on when I've made this one and the next one and the next one and the next one with pink. Then I'll grab pink or this aqua or whatever thread, and I'll put it both in my top and in my bobbin. But I'm not going to swap out now because the next one I do might be this one with this backing, or might be, and actually pink would work fine there, but this one with this backing. So I'm going to use a piece of this. What are we going to do? We need some sharp scissors. I'm going to go right inside here, this opening, and I'm going to look to see, I've got about 2 inches or so, a little bit less, and I'm just going to cut myself a piece. And we're going to place this inside. I want to have it not along the edge. I want to have it inside. I don't want any of this stuff to be sticking out. This can be kind of a permanent thing, but it's not really. This is just really temporary. And I am going to take this and score it down, just pushing hard on there so that it really adheres to that, because in a minute we're going to get the precision scissors, and I'm going to score this, and then I'll remove that outside piece, and then we can adhere it to this piece. So score this with my precision scissors, and that batting is really flimsy, so it's moving around on me, and we're just gonna, with the scissors, I pushed hard enough to score it, to cut through, literally cut through. Try not to touch the tape with your fingers because it loves sticking on everything. All right, so I want to line these up before I push. All right, and can you basically see what I just did? All right, so we have a mask that can be done. That's how quick and easy this is. So this mask, super fast, super easy. You could go in and top stitch right along there. Remember, I have Sela tape. Sela is a permanent tape. If you did what I just did with the Sela tape, you wouldn't want to sew over it at the sewing machine because it gums up your needle. This stuff is safe for the sewing machine, but it will wash out. So if you do wash this, this is going to come out. I love that it's temporary. So I'm going to leave that there. That's good enough for me to take pictures of, to put on, to whatever. But again, when I have all of my ones that need the pink threads in the top and in the bobbin, then I'll go back and I can either just stitch this closed or I can stitch all the way around. All right, so this was the adult large. I want to put the adult large on, this one that I just made, so you can see how this looks. This adult large, there it is. And I've got my eyes open and I can barely see light here. We've got bright lights on here in the studio, but it's really hard for me to see because this goes up on my nose. This is the adult large. I'm going to grab the adult extra large just so you can see the difference. Do you see the difference there? So it's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, goes a little bit further on the side. So the adult large, the adult extra large, you have those two options. This, it looks teeny tiny and it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, but honestly, this gives you great coverage. So you can use the adult large. Again, I have 4 sizes because you guys are going to have a personal taste about your eye mask, how you like it to fit. I think we're all used to the oversized eye masks. I honestly don't like the oversized eye masks on my face. I just feel a little claustrophobic when I do wear them. So I like a little bit smaller one. Okay, so I said I wanted to talk about some of your options, and elastics are an option. Your batting is an option. Your fabric is an option. So we have lots of options to go over. So the batting that I used here, that's what we have here. Same thing. This guy here, that batting is a little bit thicker than this batting. You can see this is kind of see-through here, and this is see-through here. Why would I use this? When you're using minky or polar fleece or anything where you've got, you know, a much heavier fabric, if you're going to be using fur, those kinds of things, then you'd use a lightweight versus here. I recommend using a batting. This is 100% cotton batting, no scrim. Why am I recommending that? Because I can put it in the microwave. Here's the catch. This one has elastic with this metal. Definitely not safe for the microwave. That metal is going to go crazy in the microwave. Why would I want to put this in the microwave? Because you may want to put some things inside, or you may want to heat this up a little bit for migraines and headaches and stress and all those kinds of things. Let's talk about a couple other options that you might have on hand if you don't want to use your batting. This right here is a thinner fleece. This is a fusible fleece. This is a much thicker, you can see it's not fusible, but it's thicker and it's stiffer. This is another fusible fleece. It's thicker. This is Timtex, Peltex. No, this is a heavier fusible fleece. I don't prefer these at all for your face masks because they give you a flat mask. But if you don't have anything else on hand, you can use these. So let's look when I say a flat mask. So I want to pull over this mask right here. Can you see how it's a flat mask? That used that material that I just threw down, one of those on here. But do you see how that's flat? I'm going to put this on my face so you can see. And can you see? I can see a lot underneath here because this is not adhering to my face. It's not forming to my face. Something that's lofty and soft, it's going to be able to really adhere to your face and block out that light. If you have a job where you're working nights and you have to sleep during the day, you know, it's critical that you be able to block out that light. So that's really important. Something like this, when you do the top stitching on here, that may or may not make it so that it doesn't fit nicely on your face. I'm going to go from one extreme to the other. Do you see all of this inside of here? You may have quilts that you've made with this material. This is a much higher loft. Definitely not safe for the microwave, but I want to put this on so you can see how fluffy this would be on my face. Okay, can you see that really just kind of gives a nice cushiony feel? So, and you notice the style is different. It took me a while to figure out the sizes and the styles of the masks that I want. But we're basically going from the 100% cotton batting or a thin cotton batting to a really plushy batting. So you decide what it is you like. Do you see the elastic that's here? This is elastic here, so this is your normal elastic. Those guys here, look at this right here. I can't remember if Beth or Shirley did this one, but look what they did. They put this on the back so that it was really nice and wouldn't be grabbing your hair. I like using the headbands just because it's one more thing, but I want you to look at the right side here. See how there's a little bit of a sheen to it, and the wrong side. We'll come back to that in a little bit. So here's another elastic. They come in different widths, different sizes. You can see more elastics. Here's another one that has that fabric casing there so that it's going to keep your hair from getting tangled up in there. We'll talk about that one in a minute. We'll talk about that one in a minute. But I want to come back to this one. Remember when I talked about the elastics that my mother liked, having the two pieces of elastic here. This goes up higher, this goes up lower. So I want to show you how this one goes on. When we put this on, we're going to put both of these over our head. And when you get it on, you decide, do you want it like this? Do you want this down at the neck? Do you want that to go up higher? Do you want this to go up higher? The nice thing is you can adjust with the two straps wherever it is that fits you really well. And again, this is really dark, blocking out all that light. So because I've got all that elastic on my head, it does a really good job of blocking all of that out. So you play around with the elastics. We're going to look at the elastics. You decide what it is that you like. Satin fabric here. Everything that I showed you for the most part had cotton there. So we'll look at some of those options. A minky, this polka dot minky is a whole lot of fun to work with. Cotton. This is a fun fur kind of a minky, you know, that's nice to be able to do. Here's the same minky. You can see how much plushier just because it's larger. So you've got a lot more there. Cotton, but look at this headband that's here. So we'll look at that is a headband that covers your whole head. This is elastic that you can see has a little bit more firmness to it, so it doesn't give as much. So if you want something that really holds your head, play around with the elastics. You know, the fun thing about all of this is you get to play around, and you saw how fast it was for me to make this. Flannel is really nice versus the something and cotton. I tend to like cotton on the front and something that feels good on my face. Whatever you put on the back here, this is going to be on your eyes. This is going to be on your face. So you want it to have something that feels good to you. All right, let's grab a couple of these others. Look at this headband that I have here. This is kind of like that red, but this is another one of those headbands, and you can see how that right there is going to hold your head. And you can have a lot of fun with these fabrics. This is Lisa's favorite, or it used to be Lisa's favorite fabric. Look at this elastic that's here. You can see how this is another headband, but they do sell elastics by the yard like that too. So you play around with this. This one I've left open because I want to show you something special to do with that in a few minutes. All right, so more elastics. All right, so headbands. All of these are headbands. These, guess where you get them? Dollar Tree. Here's an elastic headband that's different than the other headbands. Do you see how tight that is? And do you see how loose this is? This is not going to hold very well if you give a lot of play to it. This is going to hold, and this may be too tight. This rubbery headband is going to grab your hair. So I don't know if you can see this rolls here. It's going to grab and rip your hair out. Same thing with this. This is going to grab and rip your hair out. So don't use elastics like that. I like these kind of elastics here because they're flat and they're easy to sew over, but they're also not going to damage your hair. Those are the ones that I use for my baby bibs that I do. Another headband, more headbands. They've got decorative headbands. You can see all the options. So there are so many different things. This elastic cording, you can see all these four on here. There's a lot of stretch to this. So you've got to figure out what it is you're going to be doing and make sure you adjust these so that they're going to keep it nice and consistent. More elastic from the Dollar Tree. This is really loose. So you want to make sure that if you're using that, you've adjusted that. You've got the traditional elastics that you can get by the yard. They tend to be white or black. And again, the two straps, I recommend this width. If you're doing one strap, then either of these two work really well. And again, you've got plain old elastics that you can do, so you choose what it is that you want. The elastics, to me, headbands, that's kind of a nice thing. Remember how I showed you the one that was adjustable? The adjustable one is really nice, but remember that's going to be on the back of your head. So if you don't want it on the back of your head, you don't want that bulk on there, then you can adjust it so that it's on your side. But realize wherever you are when you turn, it's going to be on there. Okay, so I showed Beth and Shirley this one, and you can see how it's a thin piece of Velcro here and here. This has this piece that goes inside here. I talked about going in the microwave. So this is not safe for the microwave. There's satin there. You can see I've worn this one. And this fabric here, and this is not safe for the microwave, but this is. So if you wanted to put something in the microwave, then you want to make an insert. Or you want to make sure cotton, no Velcro, because that Velcro is going to create, like this, cotton or flannel, and then I put a lining fabric inside of here. You can't tell, but I have a lining and a lining. There's no batting in here because I want to show you how to fill it. And we'll fill it and do it a little bit differently. Why? This elastic is not safe for the microwave. So this, if you want to put it in the microwave, is good to go. That, once this goes inside here, this is heated in the microwave, or you can stick it in the freezer, put it in a baggie first, and put it in the freezer, and then pull it out and stick it right inside of here. This is going to feel good to your face. This is going to feel really good to your eyes, especially with the sinus headache. That's what Shirley and Beth, I think this was from Shirley, this is what she did. And again, the Velcro here, this insert inside of there, that can be done if you're buying these 4 half masks, then that's a little bit harder because it's up higher. If you buy these 2, then you can make the insert out of the small, and you can make the outside, basically the pillowcase and the pillow. So the pillowcase here and the pillow out of these 2. All right, so let's talk about filling this, and I'm going to grab over here some of my goodies that I have for filling. You have all these different options. And by the way, this is going to be true for my, this is the sleep mask. I have an eye mask. I'll show you the eye mask in a few minutes too. So you can buy lavender. Lavender by itself, there's not enough weight to it, so you can put some lavender, and it's overwhelming too. So you don't want to do all lavender. Get yourself a funnel and then cut off the edge here. When you cut off that edge, we can put this right inside. And when we pour inside, you can see when I pour inside, that's going to go inside of here. So if you used a regular funnel, your materials that you're pouring inside of here may not go through easily. So you can see how I did a rough job of cutting that off. Doesn't matter. Jasmine rice. Jasmine rice smells better when it's heated up. So jasmine rice is an option. You can also use corn. Deer corn is one that I like. You've heard probably about weighted masks. Weighted mask, the weight of the mask on your face sometimes is really refreshing, especially if you've got a migraine. I've got rice in here, the jasmine rice. I also have some flaxseed in here. And then inside of here I have beads, or different seeds. And you can use all kinds of beans and seeds that you want. Notice I've got all of these different bottles inside of her. These are all scents. Why do I have them in here? Because they leak. So if they're going to leak, can you see how this is all wet? If they're going to leak, I may as well have them leak on these beans or seeds. So all of these can go in there as well. So mung beans, your lima beans, whatever kind of bean you want. You want to think, do I want weight? Or do I want something that's going to really hold the heat? Or do I want something that smells good? There are so many options, and there are lots of things out there online that you can find too. One of the things that holds heat really well is flaxseed, but it's really lightweight too. So you can mix flaxseed with the corn, with the jasmine rice, put some smells in there if you want to. If you're giving these as gifts and you may not want to put the smell inside, you may want to tell them that they can put the smells on top of here, and that can even be done with these mists. You can spritz, and that gives a nice little smell. Or you can give them, you know, a little package of jasmine in a little baggie, and they can put the lavender. They can put the lavender in when it is that they like. So when you are pouring in, again, this guy here, with this inside of here, pour that inside of here, and then you would stitch that up. I want you to see this is not completely full, because this, if it's so full, it's not going to feel good on your eyes. This one, if we put that inside of here, I said stitch that up. Why? Because this is not safe for the microwave. So this is not going to be removable. If this goes inside of there, then I'm good to go. But if I wanted to put the materials right inside of here, I'm going to stitch that up. And then what good is it for me? In the freezer. These all feel really good in the freezer too, because cold is going to feel really good, especially for, you know, a headache and migraine and those kinds of things. And you hopefully will know your body well enough to know what it is you like as far as heat and materials and, you know, scents and all those kinds of things too. I want to talk a little bit more about fabrics. I've got a fabric like this, you can see this was what I put on the back of several of the face masks. There's minky, there's all kinds of fun things. I did the minky here, the dots that are there, Shannon Fabrics, minky, whatever you want to call it. But these are a lot of fun. When you go to cut these out, if you're going to be doing this mask right here, the half mask, do you see how this moves on me? So that's going to create a problem. Instead, we're going to cut from here. And when we cut here, do you see how this, when I'm turning it, this material grabs this material. If I had this lined up here and I put this on here, that's moving, and that's not going to give me a precise cut. So when you're cutting, don't cut your 2 layers. Go ahead and cut 1, and I don't mean 2 layers. Don't cut your front and your back. This would be the backing here, the lining. This, you can see, that's going to grab. So when I go to cut around that, I'm going to get a good cut. Cut that separately, then cut your fabric separately for the front of your mask. So when you're working with any fabric that has a slick backing like that, make sure that you've got that lined up. I love satin and the feel of this, but this is really tough to work with. These feel great. Those are the ones that you see all over the place where both the lining and the backing are made from this material. But as far as making them, this is going to be one of the hardest materials to work with. So I don't recommend that. I have a list. If you buy the templates from me, and if you bought the templates from me, I will be emailing you this. But if you buy the templates, from now on, you're going to have this information that will be part of your email. Great sayings for your sleep mask. Why? Maybe you have a cricket or you have a silhouette. If you have a cricket or a silhouette and you wanted to do a saying here or a saying here, if this was the front of the mask instead of the back, you can use your cricket or your silhouette. And you can come up with all these things on your own, but I've given you a good start here. So cat nap, cat mom, dog mom, tired as a mother, napping for 2 for the mother that's pregnant. You know, all of these sayings are great for your cricket or silhouette. You can also hand embroider. So you're going to get that. You're going to get written directions for it. I've got the video that you'll be able to watch, but I'll have written directions for you as well. And one of the things I really like you all to be thinking about is, since this is such a simple little project, recycle. Recycle your materials from your closet. Recycle the materials that you've been throwing away. You might have some gorgeous scarves. Those scarves, again, it's a harder material to work with, but if you're comfortable with that, they're beautiful. Your sheets, your pillowcases. I've got a pillowcase. And actually, it's not a pillowcase, but it feels like a pillowcase. But this embroidery right here, but you can see how I've been using this to cut. So this fabric for your linings, if you're going to do, especially where you're doing that lining, then that works really well. So you'll have written directions. I'll have information on when you heat them up, what to do in the microwave, what to do in the freezer, that kind of thing. And then if you, again, want to do embroidery, you can do hand embroidery. There are also some really cool things that you can buy. These kinds of things that you can put on there. You could put the 2 little hearts. You could, all of these things are things you're ready to buy. They don't need any work. But you can embroider if you have an embroidery machine and put those kinds of things on there too. So there are lots of options out there for you. I mentioned the freezer and I mentioned my eye mask. The eye mask versus the sleep mask. This is the insert for the eye mask, and you can see how that makes a whole lot of noise. That is weighted. And let's pull this one out over here so you can see. My eye mask is a twofer. You have the pillowcase and you have the pillow. And this tucks right inside of here. And this folds over. This goes in the microwave. This could be minky or some other fabric that's not 100% safe for the microwave, but this will be on your face. This side will be on your eyes, and this part can go in the freezer or can go in the microwave. But you can see this is different than the sleep masks. This sits on your face. So if you roll over on your side or you're a side sleeper, this isn't going to do you any good. But if you've got a sinus headache, man, the weight of that feels amazing, and add some scents on there too, and it will make all the difference. So you can do the flannels. Notice this method here versus this method. You see how easy that is? And I've got a video that'll show you how to do that. But this is the eye mask. The reason why I show you that is inside of here. I have that pillow, but you can buy these. And this right now, just to the touch, is cold. But if you put this in the freezer and then you stick that in, or you just stick it, take that out, put this right inside of there, this already is a little bit cold. So these are great for your face as well. If you don't want to do any of this, if you don't want to buy the templates, I have pre-cuts already for you. These are take and makes. You can buy the take and makes. I've got a bunch of different designs. I mean, look how adorable that is. So this is the full size here. The reason why I have the full size is you can use a much wider seam allowance if you wanted to make it smaller. So you've got a little bit larger fabric to start with than if you got one of the smaller ones. But if you wanted it for a child, you could go in with a much wider seam allowance and just cut off all of that excess. Okay, guys, I think I've told you everything I want to tell you about making these sleep masks and the eye masks for now. I'm sure I'll think of something else, so I'll post on my Facebook. If you follow me on Facebook, it's Winter Designs for Sewing and Quilting. Winter is W-I-N-N-E-R, winter, winter, chicken dinner. So follow me on Facebook. I post a lot of sales and discounts and those kinds of things. When I post new videos, you'll see them there. My YouTube is Linda Videos. I've got a couple hundred videos for you to watch, and we'll be filming more and more as I come out with new templates and new projects. There's so many new things that I want to show you, so we're making a list. I also want you to look at the website. If you go to the website, winterdesigns.com, products and templates is where you're going to go. And for what we're talking about today, if you go to the search box, you're going to type in mask. When you go to mask, I not only have the sleep mask and the eye mask, but I've got other things too. That mask keeper, I'm going to show you a project with that in just a minute to keep not only your sleep mask, but your face mask too. But you can see the take and make that I showed you, and then the sleep mask templates. When you go to the sleep mask templates, you'll see the two different styles, the full size, and then you'll see the half size. And from that full size or the half size, you get to pick which style and which size it is that you want. And I'll have bundles for you that will also give you some options. So if you wanted to buy several sizes, you can do that as well. All right, so I want to show you, I talked about that the mask keeper. And the mask keeper was a template that Shirley had asked me to make when we were wearing a lot of face masks. And originally was made to hold a mask keeper, to hold your masks. And then I showed you how to do a towel topper with it. Well, Darla, you all have heard me talk about Beth, Shirley, and Darla, and Lisa, and a couple other people, but Darla sent me this this past weekend. I just got this, and look at this. Isn't this adorable? She put in the boxed bottom. You all know I have the box it, square it, place it templates. That gives me those boxed bottoms. But she had a whole series of other templates or other projects that she did with this fabric. And this has a little latch here, so you can clasp this onto your backpack or your purse or your wallet or your whatever it is that you want. But how adorable is that? You could make these sleep masks and give them to somebody in this case, and I just think that would be a really great gift. All right, guys, I think that's it. So I will see you again. If you have any questions, call me. My phone number is 850-449-0259. You'll see it below in the description. You'll also see it in the post here. Why do I say call me? It's always easier to get me by phone, and it's great to talk to you guys. I love hearing from you. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you think. And I hope you get busy making eye masks and sleep masks for all those people that maybe they just have a hard time sleeping, or they work during the night and they need to sleep during the day, or those of you that just have a hard time sleeping or want some comfort over your eyes. Thanks for watching.